feel like a big theme for our business recently has been house hacks. So maybe diving in a little bit into what a house hack is and what it's able to do for somebody starting their business.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have a house hack, you have a house hack, our first student has a house hack, our second student's gonna have a house hack.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple of my clients have house hacks. And so, I mean, house hack is something that's been, a real estate strategy for a long time. There's many different ways to do it. And it essentially is just figuring out a way to make money with the house that you actually live in.
Yep.
And so a lot of people started out doing house hacks by being kind of smart renters, right? So they rent a big house from a landlord and then they turn around and rent rooms to, say, 4 of their friends, and then they can live rent free essentially. The friends may not know it. I had buddies like that. Some of my most entrepreneurial buddies in college, would rent this big house. It'd be the place that everybody goes to have the parties at, and they would basically organize the parties, and it's almost like they're the landlord in a sense, kind of providing all these amenities, providing a place for everybody to get together and have fun. But they're actually figuring out a way to save a lot of money by doing that. It really doesn't take all that much effort. And I think it's kind of evolved a lot over time. More recently, we see a lot of people looking to buy a duplex and live in one of them, or buy a quadplex, triplex, live in one of them. That's a super solid strategy, especially with a primary residence loan, when you can get a much lower down payment, especially if it's like a first home. And even without like an FHA, you can still get a lower conventional down payment on a primary residence in a lot of cases. So yeah, I think that's a really solid strategy, and what people have been seeing more recently. And honestly, there's not that many of them. I still think it's a relatively new trend. And when I first started my house hack, I felt like it was, this secret sauce essentially. I was like, oh my God, I can't even believe this is working so well.
Yeah.
Which is taking short-term rentals and incorporating them into your house hack. I don't advise people that have, I don't advise people to try and do this with shared rooms. Like, you need to be able to create your own fully separate space. But
yeah,
if you're able to have like a separate basement or a duplex type unit, and do a house hack that way with short-term rentals, you can make a lot of money, and you pretty much kill 2 birds with 1 stone by being able to have some sort of cash flow generating asset, plus getting rid of your biggest expense at once.
Biggest expense, yeah.
So for somebody who's starting from zero, and honestly, you don't even really need much experience to get started with that, it's just like a huge catapulting, it just has an amazing effect on your financial future.
Yeah.
And your momentum.
Yeah.
So I just remember I would say to myself all the time, once I realized what had happened and that how well the house hack was working.
Yeah.
When I was basically took my biggest expense and turned it into $2,000 a month cash flow, I was like, yeah. And I had this amazing house, this house that I had no business purchasing, no business affording really, but yeah. I basically studied the market good enough to realize, hey, this is gonna work. Went for it, it worked, and I was like, oh my God, I just skipped so many steps.
So many steps.
And I was like, oh my God, dude, this is it right here. Yeah. I'm gonna just go all in and just keep doing stuff like this. And yeah. That was my thought for a while. I was like, I'm just gonna buy one of these house hacks every single year. And then, basically rent out wherever I was living after 1 year, and then I can qualify again to be able to get a really juicy conventional mortgage on that primary residence.
Quick question. If you were to ever find another deal similar to your house hack, would you ever think about moving out of the house hack you're in right now, finding a homestay operator for that, and then moving into another one?
Yeah, I've totally considered it. So Asheville's different, right? So Asheville, one, it's super beneficial for house hacks because of the ordinances that basically prevent standalone Airbnbs. You have to be a house hack if you're inside city limits.
Yeah.
So that kind of props up the performance, right? You literally have legislation that's making it beneficial and more profitable to have the house hack. But that legislation also does prevent you from having multiple homestays is what the city calls
Oh,
them.
okay, interesting.
Yeah, so because both Lily and I are on the deed of that home, what would essentially need to happen is she would need to be taken off of the deed, uh, and then she could go get the next house, or vice versa. If I got taken off of the deed, I could go get the next house, and then we have, you know, two houses owned by separate people, and then we could essentially have two house hacks. So yeah, I've thought about it, but then honestly, just kind of like scaling arbitrage or co-hosting has just been easier and faster. So I just
Yeah, for
focused
sure.
on that.
No, 100%. I didn't know that they only allowed you to have one homestay. Like, I understand one homestay operator at a time. You can't be a homestay operator for two Airbnbs, but that's really interesting to know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive it's like one or two. I'm not 100%. It's been a little while since I've like looked over it because I haven't been super interested.
Okay.
But it's somewhere in the ordinance document, which isn't that long.
Yeah. Well, I feel like house hacking is so amazing because like a lot of people, you know, think the traditional way to house hack is you buy a quadplex and you rent out all 3 units and then you live in one of them. But every single market has like a different landscape. So like here in Asheville where we live and we have a portfolio, it's extremely expensive to live, and anything that classifies as a multifamily goes for a premium. I mean, anything that's on the market that's a duplex, triplex, or quadplex that can apply for an FHA, somebody is willing to not cash flow on that property and come out of pocket every month just to have some type of living expense that isn't, you know, similar to how expensive it is to live in Asheville. So, you know, us being able to find this niche, you know, of short-term rentals, it's just, you know, riches are in the niches. People don't understand that they can do that. So there's less competition. And like you said, I mean, you go from paying $1,000, $2,000 a month in expenses to making $2,000. So essentially you're positive $4,000 a month. You've got $2,000 in savings, saving money's making money, and then you've got $2,000 in cash flow. So I think what that allows you to do is get extremely more aggressive in whatever business you're in, or if you're not trying to get aggressive, have a more relaxed life. You're not, you know, working tirelessly. You've got more flexible hours. You can enjoy more hours of the day.
Yeah, that's for sure. Anytime where I'm feeling like insane or I'm like, is this all worth it? Like growing the different businesses, I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
I could just stop and I still don't have a mortgage. I could just go do something else, and
It is interesting, right?
I still don't really have that much risk, I suppose.
Yeah.
Risk exposure.
It is interesting. Like, I've been at a point where like every single dollar I put back in the business, but I'm like, hold on, like if I didn't put every dollar back into the business, I could probably do some really cool things. When do you think will be a point where you're like, all right, I probably deserve to take like some serious time off? I know you recently took a long weekend vacation, but I mean like really starting to like
what, a week, a month?
Like a month. I'm thinking like a month. I know that might be a long time because you're
That would be
ambitious, but
sick, man. We'll see how this crypto cycle goes. We'll see how this crypto cycle goes. For me, I think for me it is. For me, it's any debt that has interest, completely debt free.
Yeah.
So like I'm financing a $1.7 million short-term rental development in Weaverville.
Yeah.
For through a HELOC.
Yeah.
And so once I have that HELOC paid off, which there's kind of two conditions that gets paid off, or three conditions really. One, crypto continues to pump super hard.
Yeah. And you hit those nice scalps.
Yeah, maybe. But I got my plan in place. I'm not really deviating from that. You know, I have some small bags that I could potentially run up and some more speculative stuff. But the three strategies really is, crypto runs up, I can pay all that off, and then I want 100K liquid. So if I'm completely debt free and 100K liquid, that's when I feel like I can take a little break. You know what I mean?
Cool.
But yeah, I don't know if I could even allow myself to take a month off though. I feel like I would get super bored unless I was doing something different.
Yeah, for sure. No, I like if I were to get to a point where I'm like, I want to take a month off, like I wouldn't stay here. That's for sure. I'd be going somewhere else where there's a different culture, a different lifestyle, and working on something there.
You know what I would prefer, and I heard this in My First Million podcast, I believe. I love the idea of 3 weeks on, like every single day, and then 1 week off, and you do that every day throughout the year. That sounds like ideal for me.
That sounds great.
Because that way, you find your balance in that 3 week chunk, right? You still eat good, you still exercise, but you pretty much just go all in, grind. Then you have maybe on your vacation week, you have 3 to 4 days to completely decompress, and then you have the end of that to kind of still in a relaxed vacation environment, start really kind of brainstorming and planning
What
the next 3 weeks.
will look like.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's kind of I think a firefighter schedule, but instead of 3 weeks, it's 3 days on, 2 days off.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how they structure their schedules.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've always liked schedules like that, and being a brewer, we've always had extreme schedules where it's you have. One of the last ones I did was really sweet. You do 3 12s and then you'd have 4 days off, and
Oh,
I think
wow.
that was honestly one of the reasons I was able to have enough time to plan and figure out how to
Yeah,
transition into this business.
that's awesome. It's basically taking I don't know, maybe a whole work week and doing it in 3 days, and then it just gives you more time to focus on what other things you want to focus on.
Yeah, and I want to go back to talking about the house hacks and how Asheville's a niche, right?
Yeah,
And you said the riches are in the niches. You pretty much just got to find whatever is the niche for your particular area.
yeah,
There's always going to be something, and it might not be house hack relevant, but there's always going to be something that's outperforming, something that's uniquely good for that area.
yeah,
And I feel like if you either put in the time to figure that out, or you get lucky enough to just kind of stumble upon it,
yeah.
you can definitely get outsized returns. Just talking about somebody who's kind of starting from nothing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just a couple of things that come off the top of my head is there's house hacking, there's co-living, there's getting multifamily, there's mobile home. Mobile home parks is one. So just really looking into every single market and figuring out where most people aren't looking, where the money's being made.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Is it time to talk about crypto now?
Dude, go for it. Yeah, dude.
You haven't been following it at all, have you?
No, I haven't.
That's good though. You're staying focused, staying on the ground, keeping the mission. Unfortunately for me, this has been my mission for some time now, so I'm ready, dude.
Hell yeah.
So pretty much just being patient here. Just being patient with my bags. I'm holding Bitcoin, obviously. I was primarily holding Bitcoin, probably 80% Bitcoin until we hit around 92K. And then I was like, okay, I think we're gonna go to 100 to 120 by the end of the year. And that's honestly a 10 to 20% run from say 90 so K. And so that I was like, this is the time to make my first big move, my first big transition. So I've transferred 1/3 of my holdings into a coin, AVAX. I think it's number 15 coin, so pretty big coin, 15 billion market cap. Still, nothing to the Bitcoin's 1 trillion plus market cap at this point, but big coin.
It broke $1 trillion?
Oh yeah, it's been over $1 trillion for a while.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, it's broke $1 trillion, and man, that Bitcoin can seriously run. But I'm basically just following what happened last cycle, and pretty much Bitcoin went crazy pretty much all the way until December. Had some pretty big drop offs, and right around the end of the year, kind of January, February, is when altcoins just went absolutely insane. And pretty much every altcoin was just running up 5, 10, 20, 50, 100x. And so I've positioned into these mid-cap coins, which I think will run next. So I have 30% in kind of a 15 billion market cap coin. Could easily go 3 or 4x. I have another maybe 10% to 15% in some and some kind of like slightly smaller cap, like 2 to 3 billion coins. Those could run up like 8 to 10x. And then I have some like much smaller investments in, you know, meme coins and just like much more speculative stuff that could either, you know, just like lose it, or I could, you know, 100x it. And, you know, if I took 1,000 to 100,000 or lost 1,000, that's a trade I'm like, that's an asymmetric trade I'm willing to take.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and then recently I discovered Pump Fund. If there's any crypto people out here, they're gonna be like, this guy's talking about Pump Fund. We're at like the peak market. It's about to crash.
Pump Fund, is that the coin creating where you can create your own coin?
Yeah. You can create a coin in like literally seconds, and it is just wild, man. You know, I've always been into like kind of cypherpunk internet stuff. I kind of told you I was into like computer security when I was younger, and the communities out there are just like absolutely insane. Like there's this whole subculture built around like trading meme coins, and it's just actually crazy. And the volume of money that's running through this thing is like hundreds of millions. Like
Oh my
a day.
God.
It's insane.
No, I saw that
insane.
video that you sent me. 14-year-old kid. I don't even know how old he was. Literally, he just has this coin and he sees it start to run up. He's like filling his bag. He's like, "All right, great, you guys sells it." And he's like,
Yeah, and then
dude, like what?
He's in okay, so this is hilarious. So yeah, that video I showed you, 90% of the activity going on there is all rugs. And a rug is just where basically people have put money into this coin, and they're in their like secret little Telegram groups, and they're tracking all these people on Twitter, and they're tracking all these wallets, and they basically create this like hype, and they maybe get certain key players in, and they know that other people are watching certain wallets, and they'll basically all come into a coin, and they'll be like planning this out, right? So they buy like a decent supply of the coin, and they create enough hype that other people are going to buy in, and then they just pull out all their coins and
They
just
just
rug
pull all their
everybody.
bags out.
So yeah, that video is this random 13, 14-year-old kid who basically does the same thing, and you can live stream on it. So you're live streaming your own coin, right? You go to the coin, there you are on live stream, like, let's go, send it to the moon. And then he rugs it in front of everybody.
That is so crazy, bro. And the funny thing too is like he like was celebrating as if it was like a Call of Duty match he won, but he literally just stole like 30K from everybody.
Yeah, no, I mean it is like a video game, and that's kind of
It is like a video
appeals.
game. Yeah.
And I mean, if you, I don't recommend it. I definitely don't recommend it. But I feel like if you can get the right, into the right groups, and if you get good at like identifying the narratives and being able to run with them, and obviously sniff out rugs and be able to, primarily just sell before it rugs, because I think that's, all of them are going to end up rugging at some point.
I mean, like even just the majority, like 95% of people lose their money in crypto. I mean, that's what Alex says. Like he's like, do not listen to anything I have to say. But
yeah, and he's just talking about regular crypto.
Yeah, he's not talking about like.
He's not talking about like literally where 95% of the coins are actually designed to rug.
Actually designed to steal your money, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I know this is probably not like the most relevant thing to the podcast, but I just think a lot of people are interested in crypto right now.
Yeah.
Probably more so than short-term rentals, and I'm having a lot of fun with it.
That's awesome, bro.
It's a whole new world, and
well, and it's been a long time coming. I mean,
yeah.
I was watching the crypto market in, what was it, 2017, 18?
Yeah, 2017 was kind of like the start of the first run.
Its last bull. Yeah, so I mean, you've been waiting for 5 years for this bull run, so I mean,
yeah.
It's a lot of patience, and it sounds like you've been able to set yourself up.
Yeah, literally just like, all of my expendable income that I'm not using to improve my quality of life just has been going into crypto every single day for a while now. So yeah, that was the plan. Had lots of buddies who are into like stock investing, and I was always into crypto from like an early time, and so I always liked crypto, and they're like, dude, don't do that, just put it in an S&P. I'm like, no, dude, I'm gonna put it in here, and it's gonna go way faster. They're like, that's stupid. But see about that.
What like initially, like I understand like your buddy who was trading, you know, Dogecoin in the very beginning is what like piqued somewhat of your interest, but like what made you be like, okay, I feel comfortable putting a substantial amount of money into Bitcoin or into, you know, whatever crypto asset you're putting your money into.
I mean, I have been, you know, aware of Bitcoin and launching Bitcoin since like 2010. So I mean, you know, I remember like seeing you know, seeing it go from like $5 or $6 a coin to like $100 a coin, and then to 500, and then to 1,000, and you know, the first real bull run I guess was like kind of around like 2013, I believe, and then we had the next one like 2017, 18. So it was just seeing it enough times. I mean, it's been what, like 20 or 14 years now, 14 years that I've just been watching it, and it pretty much just really clicked for me after watching it for around 7 years. It keeps going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 2017 bull was the first one I really participated in, and didn't have any money, but just, you know, put whatever I could into Bitcoin and different coins, and was mainly, I thought I was going to trade it and make money, and honestly I did. In the middle of a bull run, it's not too hard to spot trade Bitcoin and make money. I was trading like Litecoin when Litecoin's not seeing a lot of love nowadays, but
Yeah.
I was trading Litecoin, turned my bag from like 500 to 4K, then basically just sat on it for a really long time. Obviously that doubled itself when we had the 2021 and 2021 bull run. I really didn't do much of anything. I was just working. That's when I was like brewing, night shift, just mainly focused on climbing. And then I think I really started paying attention to it again, kind of like 2022, where we've just seen it go up so many times and people just doubt it, right? Like when it gets down to its lows after the bull run, everybody's like, Bitcoin's dead, nobody's talking about it, nobody's interested. And I was like, I finally have money now. I know this thing's going up again. I'm just gonna start putting all my money in here. And so I just started buying it like 15K, and then pretty much bought around, I guess, like, I was buying Bitcoin and ETH, but I think I was buying around like 700 a week for at least like 5 months or so.
Okay.
Yeah, and all of that, I stopped buying when it started, I started scaling out of my averages, so like scaling down how much I was buying as it started going up.
Yeah.
And then I stopped when Bitcoin reached 50K. And honestly, it would have been completely fine for that next 5 or so months to just keep buying it.
Yeah.
But I did stop, and I mean, it's done good so far. I'm up like maybe 150%, so 2.5x.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and now I just want to do more degenerate things with it. But I pretty much stuck to my plan thus far, so I'm gonna stick to it.
Yeah. I mean, that's just 2.5x in Bitcoin too. So now that you have the opportunity to, because like a lot of people, believe it or not, people are from 70K up are like dumping into Bitcoin. So like now you're getting out of Bitcoin, thinking about what most people aren't thinking about right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you know, my plan was always to rotate into these smaller coins, but I started getting concerned because I was like, okay, I know Bitcoin is gonna run more, but I didn't get into a lot of the alts when I wanted to, because I felt it was too risky with the stack that I had built up so far. So I pretty much let Bitcoin like run my stack up to like 2.5, and then 90K or so. I was like, man, it could run to 100, it could run to 120, but do I want another 30% or do I want like a 300%? And so if I wait until Bitcoin hits 120K, it's very possible that all of the alts have already done a 2x.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about that is like the difference between, like, so say by the time it hits 120K, it's a 2x, and then I rotate into the alt, and then it 5x's from there. Well, if I had been in before, just at that 1x earlier, it would be a 10x instead of a 5x.
And the later you get into the more liquid the early, I guess you could say adopters, the early traders are in that coin. So, like you said, if some people are willing to 5x, and but your 5x is actually their 10x, then
They're going to be selling their bags.
they're going to be they're willing to liquidate or at least dollar cost average out of it quicker.
Exactly.
So that makes total sense.
Yeah, that's what I love about this game. And you know, I think a lot of people, when it's with money, they take it a lot more personally, and it can be like very sensitive or like painful. But it is like PvP. It's like a PvP video.
It is like PvP except with real dollars, so people are freaking out.
Yeah. So everybody has their strategies and ways that they make money.
Yeah.
You know, life is a game that you have to play and do well to perform. It's just one of the games you can play.
Yeah.
And it's fun, you know?
It is fun. No, I remember like when I first was getting into it, that's when I was like trying to become an entrepreneur. Like when I like hung up my dream of becoming a professional soccer player and I came home, you know, I basically like my entire identity was almost gone. I was no longer an athlete and I wanted to find purpose in being an entrepreneur. So crypto was one of those things that I was, you know, I bought the Crypto for Dummies book, you know, I watched Alex Becker's videos, I watched, what's his name? Bitcoin, you know, the chubby guy with the big beard, BitBoy or something. Oh man, anyways, he's got a Bitcoin channel and I'd watch all the YouTubers, I'd go to the library and read up on it and it was extremely fun, you know, learning about like hard wallets and getting my first ledger.
Yeah.
I think I got a ledger, the little USB.
Yeah.
You know, getting, you know, XRP, why you're choosing them and doing the research and like, it's like there's a lot of like, it's almost like joining a cult. It's like, okay, like,
Oh yeah.
this is like, and I approached it a little bit differently. But
It's only dangerous if you don't realize that.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, no, trade at your own risk, but no, crypto is is super cool, and you know I always wondered like what it would have been like if I had like kept like you did, just like kept showing interest in it and trading and looking at it, but
Yeah. Well, you can always go back to it.
yeah, for sure.
Go back to it in 4 years.
Yeah. Well, I just get to watch you run up bags this year,
Yeah.
so that's dope,
Yeah. Hopefully, we're gonna be debt free by May.
dude. That would be awesome. Like everything, cards, HELOC, everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. dude.
Thankfully, not much on cards, but big on the HELOC right now.
HELOC.
Yeah. And it's about to be bigger because we're having our next capital call probably in the next couple weeks, which is, it's gonna, unless something changes with our private lending, I don't think we're getting 100% loan to value, so we are gonna have to come up with more cash.
Yeah.
So fairly front loaded. But if the property refis out higher than we expect, because we have a very conservative refi value at the end when we turn it into a long-term loan product.
Oh.
If it refis out good, that could wipe the debt out itself, you know?
Yeah.
It's like similar to how you get your money back after a flip or like a burr.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not entirely sure if we'll you know be able to take this new construction and completely get all our cash out, but who knows, maybe.
That'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, and if not, down the line, you know, once we season it, we could use some sort of loan product that potentially gives us a much higher valuation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got sidetracked, but that's strategy number 2 for getting debt free, and then strategy number 3 is gonna be just letting the cash flow from that property do its thing. Just from my shares and my contract with that deal, I should be making very conservatively around 150K profit.
Nice. And that's from one deal.
Yep, just one deal.
6 figures, one deal.
And not 150 revenue, 150 profit.
Profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's
So I think that should be pretty good.
That's awesome. Where do you think will be the next look after you're done with that project? And I know that's kind of far out, but
Just doing more of them, you know, getting more students who want to do more deals. A lot of my clients are already, all my clients just want to keep going, and so they pretty much, we do a deal, it goes well, they reload, they look for something bigger.
yeah.
And so I pretty much have like 2 clients right now that have a decent amount of capital. So it's like putting that capital together potentially, or just finding them their next deal. It's kind of you know where I'll be looking next, and I'll probably be doing all of those things while this deal is happening too. You know,
Nice. Yeah.
because they want to go now, so
Yeah.
it's not like we're just gonna do one at a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to do more new construction stuff just because I know how like durable those products are. I'd like to like kind of re-landscape the landscape of short-term rentals with all of these new products. I think that would be super fun. But I also see the value in doing like these really awesome rehabs where you're able to get all of your cash out and maybe even profit on the rehab and then have this like cash flowing thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, God, that's the dream, right? Is to just be able to do, you know, as long as you have the capital to start, you pretty much just infinitely recycle that cash and just be basically getting paid to build these things, get all your cash back out, collect a profit right there, and then it just cash flows for you forever.
Yeah.
So that seems pretty cool.
That's what Michael Elefante says.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely, if those refis are correct, that's what he's been doing. That is just like kind of mind blowing.
I'd love to do a little bit more research on like like lenders and building relationships, because I've been working on doing my DSCR loan product, and it's with Jonathan, who's doing your loan product, and you know, he's a good friend that I've had for years, and you know, been able to build a relationship with, and you know, we're trying to get this loan product for our property out in Weaverville, and they're actually not taking into consideration any of the income it's generating. So they're only looking at the appraisal, and they're only going to give us 60% loan to value on that appraisal price.
That
So
sucks.
yeah, and
Well, have you talked with Jonathan about considering its revenue, or how do you have a full year of revenue history on it?
so we started in December, so technically we will have a year here shortly.
Did he say that might change anything?
He did not know. He seems to think. I have talked with him multiple times about. I mean, dude, like this is a property that's making well over six figures, and that's considering we got hit by Hurricane Helene, and you know, which was extremely detrimental to our income. We're still hitting way over six figures. Like, what's the issue? But I don't know what it is, but with our loan product in particular, they're basically telling us that the reason we're getting a 60% LTV is because they view short-term rentals as risky, and also because it's rural. So because there's less comps,
Oh yeah.
less ways to price it, you know, because you're not in a dense environment where there's a lot of different comparatives to look at, we're going to give you 60% loan to value. So I'm doing the math, and I'm like, okay, I got a deal that almost nobody in Buncombe County was able to find themselves, and we're all in at 345, pulling in, you know, probably going to do 130 with the storm, maybe 135. I'm thinking to myself, like, if we wanted to cash out and say just recycle our money, not even like profit, but just to get our money back out of the deal, 345. I kind of want to do this math. Can I borrow your phone?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think I can get into your calculator. Okay. So essentially, we got $435,000 for our appraisal. And at a 60% loan to value, that's only $261,000. Essentially, if we wanted to get our $345,000 back out, you would have to appraise it around $600,000 to $625,000, which is a ton. You know, I mean, that is a huge jump. And we were able to get our LTV. We were able to get our LTV up to 70% because what lenders, they also will give your LTV based on whether or not you're getting cash out. So if you're not getting cash out of the deal, they're willing to give you a higher LTV. So we're able to get our LTV up to 70%. But at the same time, I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, how good of a deal do we have to find in this market for us to be able to recycle our money and even get cash out of it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so it sounds like you're hitting on like a lot of key factors of it being like a high performing property, but I know that the rural element can be pretty rough.
Yeah.
So yeah, But it doesn't necessarily mean that every single place that's not in like a densely populated area is categorized as rural.
Okay.
So like say our development deal isn't categorized as rural, even though it's up in Weaverville off exit 15. So
Really?
yeah.
And how were you able to argue that point or just get?
I don't know.
Huh.
It's not. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Interesting.
I think it has to do with what the appraiser says.
Okay. So the appraiser went to your piece of land and was like, "This is." Did they classify it as something, or they just?
If there's something between like rural and urban, I would assume it's that.
Huh. Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, it has like some businesses around it. It has plenty of houses around it.
Mm-hmm.
Does yours have businesses and houses?
I mean, we got a bunch of houses around us, but we are on a dead end road with a river.
How did you guys purchase it?
Cash, just
Cash.
Facebook groups.
Yeah, and I would say, that's not a bad thing at all, right? You probably got a sick deal.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
in one sense, you do a lot less of your own like underwriting, and there's a lot less eyeballs and a lot less stuff that needs to happen. Like say for us, when we know we have to get a loan and we know that it needs to be like financed at this level, and,
Yeah.
we have to make sure all these requirements are in place first, and so that way on the exit we also kind of have those ducks in a row
Interesting.
if we wanted to do a different refinance in the future. So it could just be a lesson learned. It's like if you're looking at a play that you're going to buy cash for a really juicy like refi potential, you might just want to be like checking some of those boxes next time.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not anything you did wrong. It's just like now that's another tool in your repertoire to be able to get even more value on the back end.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
Because
think
it's probably just the rural thing that's messing you up.
probably. I think what he was saying is his lenders go up to 80% if it's non-rural, which I don't know what non-rural is. I don't know if that's like a city. I don't know what classifies as non-rural, but because I haven't looked into it. But if it's not rural and if you're not getting cash out of the deal, so if you're just getting what's into the deal back into your pocket, but if you're actually pulling cash out, then they take off 5 to 10% LTV.
Okay, that makes sense. And it has a loan product on it right now, is that right?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to wrap my head around that. So you're pulling out, I mean, it's all cash, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. So
you're just trying to pull out as much as you can.
yeah.
And so where's the distinction there between the like say 70 or 80% LTV?
The distinction between them giving us 70 to 80%.
Yeah, when it's all your cash essentially.
Well, they're looking at it as like risk. So, basically, my grandmother helped me invest in the property. I found it, we put the money into it, and we fixed it up. And basically, I want to pay her off, make sure that she gets all of her money back, and she was able to help me for just short of a year, getting my owning my first property. I think they're just looking at strictly risk. So they're looking at how risky is it to give this person this amount of money is what they're looking at.
Gotcha.
So the 70 to 80% is either A, I want cash out of the deal, because we were aiming to have like 40K in our pocket after we were done. Or B, just it being rural. It just being a rural property and them not being able to actually properly comp it.
Okay, so you're only trying to pull out 40K from the house?
No, we were trying to pull out 390.
Oh, okay.
So we were trying to pay off grandma, and then we were also trying to put 40 in our
understood.
pockets.
Gotcha.
But now we're getting to a point where it's like, I think we'll just barely have enough to just pay off grandma, and then grandma will have all of her investment, and then we'll be able to actually like own our property ourselves, pay the mortgage,
Yeah,
have a 30-year loan product.
awesome.
So-
Still a pretty good deal.
Still an amazing deal for sure. I'm just now in the process of real estate where I'm learning about lending and
Yeah.
how to recycle money properly, and so
Yeah, it's just like all these little nuggets you pick up along the way. And
yeah.
I think that if you were to be doing it perfect every time, it probably means that you never did anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's totally true.
Yeah.
For sure. And dude, like even if like, the cash flow is so good on the property, like it's not the end of the world to not have a bunch of cash walking out of it. So
Yeah, yeah. But now you're set up and primed to go find that one where you can get both.
Yeah, for sure, right? Yeah, taking the lessons I learned into the next one.